Hello, hello, and welcome to Pieces of Pat Paints. I'm Pat. We're rolling great. It's a Friday. I'm excited. Hair's looking fabulous. I'm still talking about cutting it because, it's getting long. It's crazy. Anyway, I keep saying that and I don't do it. So anyway, we paint pieces here. We don't just talk about my hair. But for like 45, going on 46, it's pretty outstanding. Anyway, goodness, I'm gonna be able. That's just me being just a tiny little bit narcissistic, and I think that's okay. As long as you know you're being that way, I think that's okay. It's like you're like, okay, well, I'm not always that way, but I'm being vain. I can tell. Anyway, so we paint things around here. For those of you who aren't familiar with the channel, we do get around to painting things. I'm Pat. I paint pieces. That's what I do. All sorts of different kinds of pieces. It really depends on what I've got going on here in the studio. I do a lot of different stuff. Everything like from ceramics and pottery and stuff like that to mobiles and kids' toys and this lady right here who's looking pretty fabulous. I'm always scared about picking up. She's not exactly glued together, but she holds herself up pretty well even without the glue. So she's really starting to look great. All the books are looking magnificent. Really about to be able to start gluing some stuff down soon, I think. Just awesome. So if we can get to where we can glue down for her torso. Golly. The hair always likes to fall off on me. We can get down to her, get her torso glued down. Then we can glue down all this stuff that attaches to the base itself, and then we can start working from there. So that's probably what we're going to do. Today we're also going to start getting work on this cloak. That's going to be like mainly what we're going to be painting. But we may spend some time gluing some stuff down and things like that later on. There's a few touch-ups and stuff like that I want to do and take a look at some things. There's this really crazy pocket that every time I look at it, it's driving me nuts. And I've decided I'm going to fix it. So we're going to do that. And yeah, there we go. And here's Mr. McBeardsley. Welcome, my friend. Always good to see you. Yeah, it's always nice to have friends by. Alrighty. Okay, so we need to go ahead and prime this thing because I didn't prime it yet. We're kind of just priming as we're going. It's weird. I don't know why I'm doing it that way. I don't normally do it that way. Normally I prime everything and then I call it and I start going. But this time, I don't know. I've just been priming it as I go. I don't know why. It's not really the best way to do this. It's better to just get it all done at once. But maybe we'll just go ahead and do this and the hair and the head today and have that done. Or I can do that off camera. But anyway. Well, my car went in the shop. It's not great news. The water pump's busted. Very expensive. Vans are just expensive to repair. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm going to, hopefully we're going to get that back today. Hopefully there's better news than what we got yesterday, which would be great. And it's, and everything's going to be kosher. If not, I'm also looking at a new car. Because I think I'm going to start doing like Uber driving or stuff like that. I'm getting bored, and I gotta make some more money, just because the world is that way. I don't know that I need to make tons of money, but I need to make a little bit of money so that I'm not drowning. And since YouTube isn't paying for my art supplies yet, somebody's got to pay for my art supplies. So that means I gotta go do that. Plus, this, I'm so restless. Like I'm one of those people. I gotta do something. And I don't mind doing this stuff. I think it's fun, and I enjoy the work. But I don't have quite enough clients to keep this running full steam yet. So before everything hits, you know, a place where I have to, you know, I'm in big spot of really need money because inflation is not. I mean, it's slowed down, but it's not stopped. And luckily, it looks like they're gonna. You know, inflation's never stopped. By the way, it never. Because like deflation, if like that ever happens, it's usually not a good thing. It's usually not good. So, because I think we're down like 1% now here in the States. I don't know where everybody else is at. I know it is tough all over. Inflation is crazy everywhere. It is not just here. I hope everybody else out there is doing okay and able to make plans and get things going for themselves to, you know, provide and make sure everything's copacetic. I mean, we're kind of all on this big rock together, right? But anyway, so that being said, so I'm looking at some new cars. Well, not new to me. I never buy new. So I got that going on, and then 4 soccer games this weekend. My middle boy's got 3, and my youngest has got 1. Most of them are indoor, luckily. Which is good. That's a good thing. It's hot as the dickens. I think it's about to get a little cooler, but not this weekend. It's going to get hot again. It's going to get a little cooler next week. It'll start going down again. We're entering that time where it's going to start slowly tipping back the other direction. Oklahoma's weird. We're going to go from it being blistering hot to ice storms in like a matter of weeks. I'm just chatting along today. I'm feeling chatterboxy. Yeah, I was shocked at the price of water pumps these days. It's like, wow, that's expensive to get all that in. But, you know, it makes sense. You know, they got to drain the radiator, and they got to do this, and fill the radiator, and test the system, and ja. Trying to make sure I get into the crevices with this. That's why I like this bigger. This is a little bit more of a coarser bristle than we usually use, and it really will get in there. I don't remember what this one's made out of. It might be it's not boar. It's might be like a rabbit hair. But it's not a synthetic. I can tell by the way it does what it does when you. If it was a synthetic by now, it would have gotten all frayed. But this one, as long as you clean it, it stays going. Which is another good way to tell it's a real brush, not synthetic. synthetics will fray and they'll get weird on you. Maybe not immediately, but they will. And I've been using this old honky thing for a while. Big old fat daddy. Well, for a hand brush anyway, or for small brushes, these kind of brushes. You can get those big old huge wall brushes. I think I have some in my closet. They were my granddad's. Use them for like staining wood, so you can get a nice deal. Oh man, tons of soccer, bro. Tons. We're going to be at Soccer City. They got 3 games at Soccer City, which is an indoor complex, at various times. And then we've got 1 outdoor. I don't know where the outdoor is. Oh man, they won't even let me skip ads anymore. It's crazy. YouTube, you're cramping my style. You gotta help me out, man. I'm trying to get y'all some revenue, so that I can get some revenue. Yeah, lots of soccer. So it'll be exciting. Well, the stock market's going crazy, so they, for anybody who pays attention to these sort of things, or wants to know, maybe they don't pay attention, maybe you just kind of need to know a little bit about it. But they're going to change the interest rates in probably September, which will be massive. That's a huge deal. Interest rates going down in September means that you know you've got the ability to start building again. People can get a better line of credit. Things like they're easier to get lines of credit. Your interest rate won't be so high when you do, because this is like the baseline interest rate for everything in the country, so to speak. So like you gotta. So yeah, that's good. That's good news. It's good news for the whole country, honestly. I mean, unless you're an asshole, I guess. I don't know. if you don't like they're gonna cut the rates, then I guess you're just I don't know. I don't understand why you would want it to happen, but I guess there's probably somebody out there that doesn't. I can't imagine who that would be, but you know, it happens. So I think I am going to do just a tiny bit of this dry brush. I was looking at it, and this is the thing I think we need to do here. But only on those places where we definitely have that white poking through here. It helps soften this up a little bit for us. I wish I understood the stock market, how it works, but when it comes to actually investing and selling and all that, it's very complicated. You know, there's a lot of these things people will tell you all this basic information, and none of that helps. Your best bet is to like buy something you know is probably going to be around for a while, and then just not touch it, and like come back and look at it later. Especially if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the time to sit there and like watch it. It's like I watch it every day, and I watch all the news articles about it, and I'm a little bit, I get a little bit over the top about it. Pay a little too much attention maybe. But yeah, it's interesting because like all individual stocks kind of trade in their own ways, and you have to, if you really want to be able to like, you know, trade it the way it's perceived that trading works, where you're buying and selling and all the time, you have to really be able to devote the time to watch it and be on top of things, because there's, yeah, no, the basic info talk, it's definitely a pay to play game, man. You almost have to go in there and kind of, if you want to learn how to buy and sell it, you've got to do a lot of reading in some really deep books, and you've got to do a little bit of just a little bit of experimenting. Now you can get, a lot of these trading apps have paper accounts which aren't real. It's not a real account, so you can kind of like learn how to do the stock market without losing any real money, and play it kind of like a video game for a little while, like a mobile app, I guess is a good way of describing it, like a mobile game app. And you can learn a lot doing that. Eventually, you gotta actually put in and find out if you actually really understand it, or if you're deluding yourself. But I've finally started kind of figuring some of this stuff out. It is not easy. It's interesting, man. It's an odd deal. I know that I know enough not to not be of much help to people in explaining it, other than I know why things happen after they happen. I'm not to the point where like I know what's going to happen like before it happens. That's a very different level of the game. Like those guys, you have to be trading for a while and really be paying attention. I just feel like most people end up paying someone to do it. Yeah, it really, that's a pretty good idea. Just because those guys are like, you're paying somebody to watch it is what you're doing. You're paying somebody to sit there and watch your portfolio for you, which is, I mean, it's not a bad idea. But with these trading apps, you can, as long as if you're not very savvy with keeping up with news and stuff, I would not do it, because you have to keep up with the news cycle, and you have to stay on it. So if you're not really interested in doing stuff like that, just trading stocks is definitely something you want to leave to somebody who does. And there's plenty of those guys out there, and ain't nothing wrong with that. I would say getting your first things you need to do is get yourself, you know, 3 months worth of savings if possible, and then try to get a house. Because once you have a house, then you can, and you have savings to kind of start growing your wealth, you can start investing in, then you've got room to start investing in your stocks. And it doesn't always go that way, of course, but I mean, and if you had like $1,000 spare dollars and you threw it down on something and you just let it sit, like say you buy into something that you know is going to go. Yeah, Cliff Nuts. Yeah, that's definitely not. If you want to be doing what they call day trading, you can't be like that. A lot of those guys are like hardwired into the news. I'm pretty on it. I don't trade daily. But it's an interesting game. The main thing with the rates going up though is that it's gonna help everybody be able to borrow to get things again. So people should be able to if you need car loans or you need house loans or student loan, private student loans, things like that, all that stuff's about to start going down. And that's what really matters. I mean, like, yeah, okay, it's going to matter for the stock market. It's going nuts over the news. But it really is going to help your average people more. The people who need to be able to buy, get a loan to get a new car or get something repaired, or there's all sorts of things people need that stuff for. I just kept looking at this thing going, especially here in the front. Bring up the sharpness on that stuff just a little bit. If only I got to Counter-Strike hunting for those knives sell on the virtual market. Counter-Strike, huh? Hunting. I don't know about that one. I don't know about counter-striking. I mean, I know about that in other terms, but not as an investment terminology. Okay, now how are we looking together? Scam likely. Scam likely. That's like those. It seems like every call I get is scam. Somebody trying to scam you. It's crazy. I hardly ever answer my cell phone anymore just because of that stuff. Oh, the lip's taking a lot to get that on there. All right. So this has got to change just a touch. Got to start accounting for the shadow there. There we go. You just kind of got to keep working on these people. Oh, here we go. Counter-Strike is an online first-person shooter. Turn on for ages. You can earn or buy crates, give random roll weapon skins. Knives are the most sought after. People sell them for hundreds of dollars. Wow. That's crazy. The whole idea just seems crazy to me, honestly. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine doing that. That kind of money, just wow. That's all I can really say there is wow. Yeah, I bet you some people have definitely made a business out of that. It is crazy what people will buy. Oh man, I am constantly amazed at what people are willing to pay money for. I'm like, ew. Mind-boggling. I said we were going to work on that other thing today, and we're totally not doing it. That's funny. Goofball. Okay. I'm trying to get her glued together is what I'm trying to do. Okay. This should be dried now. Alright, so it's supposed to be kind of a dark gray, which that means we need to hit all of this up with Payne's gray. So we get to, you know, paint this whole thing again and let it dry again. Yeah, I wonder, people get crazy about risk loss analysis, man. Gambling and statistics, they get nuts. And there's people who can do it, man. There's people who really understand it in ways that are pretty cool. Like, I have a basic understanding of the market. I've gotten to where I make more money than I lose. So in the end, I'm turning money, but the first 2 years of learning it was a beast. Absolute beast. It's gonna be cool to have this have some color on it, though. That'd be neat. That would be neat. And again, you could do this with an airbrush. 100%. This old brush ready for cleaning again. I've used the Nikes out of this guy. I'm gonna be sad when he finally gives up. So eventually they do wear down. You wear the tips off of things, and it just happens. It doesn't matter if it's synthetic or real hair and that. They will eventually need to be replaced. And let me tell you, that's a sad day. You gotta give up a brush. I'm like, oh God, you've served me so well. Well, we've dealt with a lot of like fur cloak pieces on a bunch of different models so far through this Elden Ring deal, and I think by far this one has the most cohesive look to it. Yeah. No, I'm more. I mean, if it was if it was appropriate to throw a funeral for a brush, I probably would. If it's especially if it's a Kalinsky, it's like, oh no, oh no. It's like it's a shame when my synthetics go down. I'm like, oh man. But like synthetics are like zombies. They like stick around. Like you can use them for other things. But when your Kalinskys start to degrade, that means the hairs are dying completely. They're starting to, because it's actual hair, so it's starting to shred and decompose and stuff. It keeps falling apart. It starts falling apart, and where the synthetics just like crinkle out and stuff, get crazy. But yeah, if it's a brush I've liked a lot and I've used a lot, it's definitely a thing. It's like a friend passing or something similar to that. Paint myself into a corner here. I don't know if it's going to dry off fast enough. Andy. Yeah, I love that. I've always thought that they did such a great job with those movies, that they're going to be around forever. And I heard they were making yet another one. But like you can still watch the original one and it's still funny. Like it's not one of those things where they make a whole lot of jokes that are locked in time. Yeah, 2's a pretty good one too. It's like that original Shrek as well. Like that Shrek was so good. That stuff's locked in time. But they didn't do quite as well as Toy Story did because there's a few cultural references that are time locked, but not quite as much. Some comedies can be like super time locked. Like when you watch like Scary Movie, like there's some stuff in there that it makes more sense if you lived those days. Absolutely, and it does a good job about. It only has a few, and I think it's more in the later ones where you get a little bit of those time lock jokes where you have to be from that time to really get it, or somebody has to explain it to you. And if somebody has to explain a joke to you, then it's not as funny. So like, but yeah, Shrek does the first one did an amazing job with it, but I think they maybe like that third one they were starting to get a little into making fun of stuff that was happening now. And that's what's so weird about The Simpsons. Like The Simpsons is like it's gone on for so long it's like a time capsule. You can go back and watch it, and you can watch jokes that are being made and tell what year it is based on the way the jokes are being made. Now, some of that stuff's still funny no matter what. Like the situations that they put them in and stuff like that's funny no matter what. But occasionally a character will say something in a Simpsons episode, or some, celebrity will be on or something like that, and it gives a time lock on that, on the episode, where it says, okay, this episode is locked in this part of time. And where it's still funny. But it's funnier for people that remember that time or understand that time. So like, people who understand, cultural history, and stuff like that might get it. But some people might have to be explained to it. Have it explained to them. I mean, blah, 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 blah. Futurama does that a lot. There's that, like Slurms and McKenzie. That stuff's funny. Even if you have no idea who Spuds McKenzie was, if you never grew up with that alcohol ad, it's still funny because it's funny. The whole concept is funny. They also are make a Soylent Green joke, but if you don't know the cultural part of the Soylent Green, then you wouldn't get it. And so you've either got to be hip with parts of older culture, or you have to have lived through those older cultures. It's just an interesting thing. Like I said, it doesn't make it unfunny. It just changes why it's funny and how it's funny to different people based on their experiences. And those that were there, they're gonna they'll get that nostalgia bump too, especially if it's an older movie making a reference that they remember and understand. You'll get the nostalgia bump. Put a little bit more water in there. There we go. Just make sure we get all that darkened in. We don't want any gray poking out. I thought you would see it with her big old hat and all the hair. I don't know what I'm tripping about. Back to that wood. I'll know it's there, and I'll be sitting there at night going, it's there. I think if you had to choose a favorite cartoon, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, I'd probably pick Monsters, Inc. Huh. Well, if we're talking about favorite cartoon movie or animated movie, we're talking about for kids or like the not for kids. Because like there's a lot of cool stuff out there. If we're talking about Disney movies and Pixar and all that stuff, my favorite is called The Black Cauldron. I think it's on Disney Plus right now. It's so much of an influence on the way I do art and color and way I like to see things that it's one of my favorites. My favorite movies when I was a kid. It scared the bejesus out of me, but I loved it. To this day, I love painting undead. Undead is like my favorite. I like liches, and I like all that stuff. It's on Disney Plus, man. My kids I think my kids watched it the other day with me, and they're like, "This is a Disney movie? Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah." We watched The Black Cauldron and The Black Hole. The Black Hole was on too. It's on there. Now that one's a movie. That's a classic movie that doesn't get as much talking about as it really should, honestly, because it's good. I mean, the special effects are a little dated, but they still look fun and engaging. Like the robots are, you know, some of them are obviously people in costumes, but it still lends a little bit of a. It just feels fun. It's a fun movie, and you know, it's also for Disney. It's kind of dark. I also liked Secret of Nim. That was a really good one. I'm not really sure who made The Secret of Nim. I don't remember which company that was. But that one's a good one. And then what was it? There's a couple of really great animated like kids kind of movies that don't get a lot of respect. Titan AE. Titan AE was really good. There was a treasure island called Treasure Planet. It's kind of like a treasure island in space kind of thing. It was pretty good. Titan AE is it's actually a pretty good little story. Yeah, very underrated. Very underrated. It did not get the kind of credit it deserved when it came out. It got kind of panned. Yeah, Atlantis is good. Everybody likes Atlantis. That one's a good one. And then I also grew up on the old what is that, Ralph Batsky? God, I can't remember his last name right now. Who did the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and Wizards. I love Wizards. But one of my absolute favorite animated movies is called Fritz the Cat. And it's crazy. When I was a kid, story time, everybody. We're done for the day. We're gonna do story time. That's my show. I do what I want. Okay, so story time. So I was a kid, right? And you know, this was back in the days when you got a pizza and Blockbuster Video, and like that was like, listen, life was. And this was actually I think this is like before Blockbuster. I think this was like when it was the other video stores and stuff like that, before Blockbuster became a thing. I don't know. I was pretty young, so it's hard for me to remember which video store it actually was. But it was definitely the pizza and movie night. And so we get the pizza, and we're going to the video store, the pizza order, we're gonna go pick it up, right? And I'm looking at all these videos, and there's a box that's got a cat on it. It's a cartoon cat. It says Fritz the Cat, and he's like, and I'm like, hey, this guy looks cool. This is a cool cat. I'm awesome. I love animated stuff. And I show it to my mom, and I don't think she really looked at it. Because like I've seen posters of it now as I've gotten older, and I've been like, oh wow, how did this work? Because it's pretty raunchy. But it is I watched that movie like 7 times in a row as a child, and it is not something that a child should be watching. I can't remember how old I was, because it was a long time ago. It was like maybe 10. it was definitely, it's definitely like, you should be like 16 or older to watch this movie, maybe even 18 or older. It would definitely get a rated R rating now. It's probably does have rated R. It might even got a rated R rating when it came out, or NC-17 even. Like all X would have been X in those days. But yeah, it Fritz the Cat. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but it's really good, and it's an interesting movie. It shaped a lot of how I feel about things in the world, in ways that I didn't really understand until I was much older and watched the movie again, as an older person, and really was like, oh, I see why. I see why I do the thing. I think the way I think, because this was very instrumental in how I think about certain things. Get in there. I'm playing with this dang thing. I'm trying to get her in there so I can pick her up and show it to you. There we go. Yeah, that cloak, that darkening out that cloak has made a huge difference. We're definitely chugging along now. We'll just keep working our way up that model. It's gonna be pretty awesome. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna get ready for this crazy weekend. I got a lot of soccer to go and do, and I've got I gotta get ready for that. I gotta go watch a bunch of videos about doing some coaching stuff. So I gotta come up with a bunch of drills, keep these kids entertained, because they want to scrimmage constantly, and it's like, you guys need a lot more technical skills. So anyway, that's about all I got for today. We went a little long yesterday, so I don't feel bad about being a little short on Friday. And oof, dang allergies. My eyes are so crusty from all these allergies. It's been like wet all the way through August this year, which is weird. So like all the plants are still going crazy. Yeah, you too, buddy. We'll definitely see you on the flip side. See you Monday. Thanks for everybody who comes by and checks out our videos. We're almost at 250. We're gonna do this little giant. He's a little giant, but he's highly detailed. He's gonna be a lot of fun. And he's kind of like a blast from the past, from the 90s or the 80s or something like that. I think. I don't know. He's pretty old. Anyway, I think that's about all I got. And we're gonna talk to you later. Thanks a lot. Bye.